Your Honour, I call Andrea Lockhart.
Lockhart, would you take an oath on the Bible or affirmation?
An affirmation.
Would you repeat after me, please? I do solemnly, sincerely and truly
I do solemnly and sincerely and truly
declare and affirm that the evidence I shall give in this Royal Commission
that the evidence that I shall give in this Royal Commission
shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Yes, thank you. Take a seat. Yes, Ms. Vanessa.
Thank you, Your Honour. Would you tell the Royal Commission your full name?
Andrea Genevieve Lockhart.
Your occupation, Ms. Lockhart?
I'm the Senior Counsellor at Ballarat Centre Against Sexual Assault.
It's been commonly referred to as CASA.
CASA, yep.
Thank you. Now, you've made a statement dated the 11th of May.
Yes, I did.
And the contents of that are true and correct?
Yes, it is.
I tend to that.
The Exhibit 2823.
Thank you. Perhaps you could tell us about your professional background before you came to CASA, Ms. Lockhart.
So I've been at CASA for approximately 10 years. Prior to that, I worked in the Juvenile Justice Program for the Department of Human Services for 10 years.
And you're a social worker by training?
Yep, I'm a qualified social worker.
What does Ballarat CASA provide in terms of services?
So Ballarat CASA is the state government-funded specialist sexual assault service. We've got many centres across the state, and we provide free counselling and support for survivors of sexual assault, and we also provide support for their families and support people. We also have a program where we work with young people up to the age of 15 who've exhibited sexually abusive behaviours and under the age of 10 with problem sexual behaviours. So we've sort of got a broad range of services. Yes.
Is your only source of funding the Victorian Government?
Yes, it is.
In terms of the dealing with children who've exhibited sexually abusive behaviours, who are they generally referred from to come to you?
A mix within the community, but a lot of our work is linked with child protection, and so particularly those older children. And we also we're also funded to provide therapeutic treatment orders, and that's through the Children's Court.
So the Child Protection organisation in Victoria is in contact with you about children they identify who are within their system who might need your assistance?
Yes, and police and schools and other sort of welfare services, and parents can refer to.
How big is the centre?
Our centre?
Yeah. How many staff do you employ?
I'll have to look. So we have a manager, Shireen Gunn, and we have 11 counsellors and 2 administrative people.
Do you turn many people away?
No, not at all. We don't see adults who are sexual offending, so we make assessments around that.
For those who come to you, you have sufficient resources to provide what assistance they need?
I'm sure my manager would say we could always do with more resources, but especially around the Royal Commission clients, we've prioritised them because we see it's such a significant issue here in the community.
If you don't have sufficient resources to see a person who contacts you, is there somewhere else you can refer them?
We don't refer out to other because this is our specialist areas. CASAs have been working for over 30 years in this area, so we've got training, expertise and a support system where we understand the impact of sexual assault. That's the work we do. So our experience is that sometimes those issues aren't addressed when they go to external agencies. They look at what's on the surface.
How do you work with moving towards justice?
So they contacted me, I think it was and through Peter Blenheim, the beginning of 2013, and so I was really involved in attending the meetings. Peter was, from memory, I think he was elected on the executive, and I was his backup person if he wasn't able to attend. But my role mainly was about trying to inform them about the impact of sexual assault, and I guess being that sort of expert, and later on particularly referring clients for the survivor packs that Mr Sheehan spoke about.
You describe in your statement at page 2 the impact of institutional child sexual abuse. Yep. Can you tell us about that impact?
Well, the impacts, I think what I wanted to portray is that it's long-term. It's not something that people suddenly get over, and clients are often told, you know, forget about it and move on. And I know that they would if they could, but the impacts are multifaceted. It affects their relationship, intimacy, sense of self-worth, employment, substance abuse. So, you know, and if you listen to the witnesses, they all describe those same impacts. Yeah.
So in your experience, to provide someone with 5 or 10 series of counselling sessions wouldn't be sufficient?
Absolutely not. And anecdotally, I've heard people say, particularly, you know, with the Towards Healing program, you know, when they're offered 5 sessions or 10 sessions, whatever they are, and they have those sessions and then they don't feel better, it actually makes them feel worse because, oh, there must be something really wrong with me because I'm not fixed yet. We don't have a time limit on the clients we see at Ballarat CASA, so some of the people that I've worked with, you know, would be a few years of work before, and that's consistent with the level of trauma they've experienced as in childhood.
You refer on page 3 to the fact that many male survivors have told you that they struggle with the perception that abused men will go on to abuse others. And then you talk about your experience that that isn't the case.
Well, I'm running a support group, or co-facilitating a support group, and there's 18, 20 men who haven't gone on to abuse others. We wouldn't be working with them, and but it's such an impact. I remember one man who said his psychiatrist told him that he would definitely go on to abuse, and so that impacted on his ability to bathe his children, to even hold them, and that was such a grief and loss around that. And I would say most of the men in the group have that fear because people out in the community believe that. So it actually prevents them from disclosing too, and seeking help. It silences them.
The group you just referred to, is that the men's therapy group you referred to in your statement? So you started that in 2012?
In 2012 we had sort of a short-term smaller group and that finished, and then in 2013 we sort of midway through the year we started the group that is now still running fortnightly and is continuing to grow. Yeah.
How does that group work?
So we always start with food because that sort of,
everyone likes food.
Absolutely, and keeps people, you know, just they feel safe, and it's sort of a safe way to start. And sometimes we have themes. So just recently we've done a bit of a brainstorm, and we've got some themes we're going to explore, which is conflict management, relationships, self-esteem, those sorts of issues. Sometimes, particularly around the Royal Commission stuff, it's about what's happening here and now, and coping with the impacts of what's going on. Yeah, so we're kind of very fluid, but I guess we sort of have a few rules, which is we don't try to have too much content about the abuse. So what's happened in these hearings is that a lot of the men here had not heard each other's stories before. So because it's not the stories that's important, it's the impacts. And so the group is really talking about the impacts of the abuse.
How do men who are interested join that group?
Word of mouth. So it seems like bit by bit, and people are hearing about it. We've had newspaper articles about it. Some of the men have actually participated in the interviews, and one of the men in the group had agreed to be interviewed, and another man said he carried the Courier article around for a few weeks or even a couple of months, and then said, well, if he can do it, I can do it. So that second man is now coming regularly. So it is that sort of spreading, yeah. And I'm involved on a different level with other CASA counsellors in Melbourne who run groups, and yeah, the numbers we get in Ballarat is, so much more than traditionally. Men's groups are usually quite small and they struggle to get people there.
Why do you think you've got greater numbers?
Because of the issues here, definitely, because the institutional abuse the other councils weren't seeing as much as we are in Ballarat. And because of Mr Blenheim's network, because that sort of fed into it. And I think because they trusted Peter, that sort of was the conduit to coming into it, because it's sort of, if he thinks it's okay, it must be okay, because he's so well regarded by the other survivors.
Is there any resource or other matter that would assist you in providing the services you do that you don't currently have?
Well, it is expensive to run the group, if that's what you're sort of asking.
No, I'm just
the cost
giving
of
you
it.
the magic wand, really. What is it that you would like that you don't currently have?
I think resources, well, see, I'm not the manager, so those sort of budgetary things, that's not my realm, but yeah, I think that we can always have more resources. Most of my time has been centred around this, and even though we weren't funded for it, we weren't going to say we're not going to do that work. And initially, when the funding was raised, and there were some articles in the Courier about Ballarat CASA not being funded, people responded, some of our clients said, oh, we can't come to you anymore. Well, we would never turn them away, because that's their core work, because it is sexual assault. That's what we do. And so whether it's in families or in institutions, it is all sexual assault, and the impacts are the same.
Page 8 of your statement, you refer to towards healing and the medical model of access to counselling.
Yeah.
What's your view on access to counselling?
I think people find it really difficult to argue for their rights if their rights have been overridden as a child, if they believe that the abuse is their fault. So to actually believe that you have a right to get help, that's a big step. So the mental health access plan means that people actually have to go and argue for a right to get help. So that's a big step. Even to tell your GP, a lot of the men in the group haven't even told their GP. And look, some, unfortunately, when they have, again, they get that, well, you should have just get over it and don't worry about it. So those things impact on it. So I think the ability to just provide ongoing counselling that's people don't have to actually argue for enables that healing journey, because they feel, they don't have to argue their right for it.
The GP approach you referred to, that's part of the Medicare model?
Yes, yeah.
Thank you. Now, in terms of the engagement with the Christian Brothers and the Catholic Diocese of Ballarat, you referred there to, in early 2003, you and others thought it might be helpful to get some support from the church.
Yep.
What did you do to get that support?
So we had meetings with Mr Shane Wall from the Christian Brothers, Mark Bromley and Justin Driscoll from the diocese. Mark's the business manager, I understand. Peter Blenheim and Andrew Collins, myself and manager Shireen Gunn. And so we talked about setting up, I guess, a more fluid, smoother process, because I think, as one of the witnesses said yesterday, it's really hard directly to go to the church and ask for help. So having me as sort of the middle means that that's less confronting. And even having to go to the building, I think that's a lot for people who've been abused in that institutional setting to actually walk in the building. So we set up a process. It was a few meetings, and we talked about what sort of things meant, we thought would need it, and it's about things like pain relief, massage, though very few clients take up the massage, very few clients want to be touched, so even though massage would be helpful for them, but I'm just trying to think what else. Access, support for funding for transport. So we've got a few people that come from the other side of Ararat, one that comes from the other side of Geelong to the group. So because they feel so connected by that, it's worth the few hours journey. So I'm getting support to help those people come into the group.
So what you were seeking from the church that you refer to in your statement was funding to provide the sorts of services you've spoken of?
Yeah, the extra things for to help their healing. Yeah.
What was the response of the church? And
look, it's been really good actually. So Mark is very prompt. So what happens now is people healing. Yeah.
What was the response of the church? And
look, it's been really good actually. So Mark, I would make recommendations of what I thought they would need, like
transport.
Yeah, whatever. And then Mark would approve it, or Mr. Shane from the Christian Brothers, because if we sort of identified they're either Christian Brothers or diocese cases. And then once that's approved, the clients bring in the receipts and I scan it, email it to Mark, and it's paid in their bank account the next day. So that's working really well. I guess my only comment that I made was that it's a 3-month program, you know, and then we have to reapply after 3 months. And back to what I originally said, that the issues are long term and people, you know, you can't just have a quick fix and things are better.
What period of time would you prefer other than a 3-month limit?
Unlimited. And it's the same with counselling. There's this view that people, if we pay for counselling, they'll go forever. But people use counselling as they need. It's not, I don't think it's not enjoyable. It's not always fun. It's actually, most men would say it's hard work. So they use it because they need it. Yeah. And it's the same with those other things.
So a service whereby the men could choose to come and go as they needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You refer on page 10 of your statement to the funding for a case manager at the Ballarat CASA.
Sorry.
No, take your time, have some water.
Yes, yeah. We had meetings with Sharon Knight and Anne Barker, with Mr. Blenheim and Andrew Collins.
With what result?
That they made a commitment to I guess explore it through their government levels, and prior to the election, Sharon made a promise to fund Ballarat CASA and for 4 years, and so and once they were elected, the commitment's been made. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Lockhart. I have nothing further on.
Does anyone else have any questions?
I have one question.
Yes.
Lockhart, my name's Hanscom. I appear for a witness. My name's Hanscom. I appear for a witness given the pseudonym BAS. He has given evidence in this commission, and he has said that in 2009 he went to men's group at CASA and he found it was very unhelpful because it was just people reiterating what they had been through. Mm-hmm. If I understood your evidence correctly, that's not any longer what you do. Is that correct?
No, and do you want me to speak particularly to that?
Yes, to that. What do you now do?
Oh, well, but sometimes, I guess, sometimes there are some really heavy times in the group, and when people themselves have experienced something difficult, and it ebbs and flows, and the men support each other through it. But I mean, I guess we can't be cheery all the time either. So it's actually understanding the impact of the abuse. Yeah.
Yes, but you're interested now in the new men's group in things which will help people move forward.
Absolutely, and also we're quite clear about setting with the rules that I guess we call them rules, but that if people have concerns and if we talk about it sort of regularly, don't forget you can talk to one of us afterwards or to your counsellor. So we've set up that as a safety net for people.
So it's really a much more sophisticated program now than when it first began.
Yes.
If the Commission please.
Anyone else have any questions? Very well, thank you, Ms Lockhart. Thank you for your evidence. You're excused.
Yes. Lockhart, my name's Hanscom. I appear for a witness. My name's Hanscom. I appear for a witness given the pseudonym BAS. He has given evidence in this commission and he has said that in 2009 he went to men's group at CASA and he found it was very unhelpful because it was just people reiterating what they had been through. Mm-hmm. If I understood your evidence correctly, that's not any longer what you do. Is that correct?
No, and do you want me to speak particularly to that?
Yes, to that. What do you now do?
Oh, well, but sometimes, I guess, sometimes there are some really heavy times in the group and when people themselves have experienced something difficult and it ebbs and flows and the men support each other through it. But, yeah, I mean, I guess we can't be cheery all the time either. So it's actually understanding the impact of the abuse, yeah.
Yes, but you're interested now in the new men's group in things which will help people move forward.
Absolutely. And also we're quite clear about setting with the rules that, I guess we call them rules, but that if people have concerns and if we talk about it sort of regularly, you know, don't forget you can talk to one of us afterwards or to your counsellor. So we've set up that as a safety net for people.
So it's really a much more sophisticated program now than when it first began.
Yes.
If the Commission, please.
Anyone else have any questions? Very well, thank you, Ms Lockhart. Thank you for your evidence. You're excused.
Your Honour, Andrew Collins is a witness who we had proposed to call next. He has provided us with an additional statement which deals with a number of matters that Mr Gray's clients need to address and can't do it at this stage. So, notwithstanding the time, if we could take the luncheon adjournment. The second witness is flying in today and will not be available till before 2:30. So perhaps if I can ascertain over lunch whether Mr Collins can be called before that. If not, the adjournment I would seek would be till 2:30, but I'll communicate with Your Honours and Commissioner and others interested in the hearing room.
Very well. We'll adjourn at this stage.
Thank you.